Welcome back to the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. Our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage continues from New Orleans, now joined by Kyle Rudolph, longtime tight end, two-time Pro Bowler. Radio Row experience for you, what's that like?
I'd say Radio Row. So this is my 13th or 14th Super Bowl. I've been basically everyone since 2010. So probably more than that at this point. But Radio Row is awesome. I mean, it's just everything. You pop around, you see so many familiar faces from your time as a player, both on the former player side, on the media side, the television media, the radio media. There's just so many people here that you see. And really, that's Super Bowl week as a whole. So to be able to come together with everyone in the industry, get the opportunity to see one another, hang out. And then now over the last couple of years, being a Gen Youth board member, the national nonprofit that's the beneficiary of Taste of the NFL, the big event on Saturday, now there's an impact behind it. So now we get to celebrate the incredible food that all the Super Bowl markets have had to offer, but we're in New Orleans.
Yes.
Like, you talk about a food market. Anne-Marie will get into some of the details of the event, but we've been stopping from radio spot to radio spot, a couple television spots, and she goes through the menu. And I haven't had lunch, and I just get hungry and hungry as we go through the incredible chefs that are going to be there on Saturday night, the unbelievable menu. But what's really cool is the impact that's able to be made, not just here in the New Orleans market, but we support all 32 NFL markets. And you wouldn't imagine that in our country there would be food insecurity. You don't think about kids wondering where their next meal is going to be. So for me now, that's kind of the culmination of Super Bowl, this incredible event that brings food and football together. And it's on Saturday evening. It's the last thing that I do on Super Bowl week before heading home to watch the game at home. So extremely excited to be back again to do that this year.
Do you see, Kyle, the vibe just kind of amping up as you get closer to Sunday? It just seems like everybody gets, you're getting there. We're almost there now.
Yeah, it builds. I mean, we see it. Here we are sitting late in Wednesday morning, and the energy's starting to build, the buzz, more and more people are getting in town, and then Thursday's a little bigger, Friday. And then obviously for us with Taste of the NFL on Saturday, it's the biggest nonprofit fundraising event of the week. And, to have the ability to be the beneficiary of that, partnering with the NFL on this incredible opportunity, for me, I go home and I watch the game on my couch. So really, Taste of the NFL is the culmination of my week. Everything is building to that, but you see it. New Orleans is an incredible town, and you walk around here, the French Quarter, Bourbon Street. There's so much good food, good people, good culture, and it just gets bigger and bigger each and every day of the week.
Kyle Rudolph joining us here on the Blitz. There's two things I want to get into. I'll let you decide which direction we go first. Tight ends in the NFL today or Notre Dame in the state of college football overall. I don't know if the sting is still there. Do you not want to go that route? I get it, but
Anne-Marie's a Buckeye, so she would love to go there. But I could touch on that quickly. It was an extremely exciting year for us as a program to have the opportunity to participate in the first 12-team college football playoff, host a home college football playoff game on campus in South Bend, and then ultimately, reaching the college football national championship. And I would have loved, Emery and I talked about this in the car on the ride over, I would have loved to see Notre Dame at full strength against that Ohio State team. They were super talented, obviously in no more area than the receiver position, which for us on the defense of the ball, we were banged up in the secondary. And I don't know what it would have looked like if we were, completely healthy, but that's part of playoff football. We see it in the NFL. Most of the time, the teams that are playing on Super Bowl Sunday are teams that stayed healthy throughout the course of late in the regular season and the playoff run. And then you asked about the tight end position in today's game, and it's one that is so exciting to watch. We'll see two really good tight ends on Sunday in Dallas Goedert and obviously Travis Kelce. There's so many good young tight ends in the game. Brock Bowers is a guy who comes onto the scene as a rookie. I joked around that we knew Brock Bowers was going to be good when he was a freshman at Georgia. It's like, okay, this kid's going to be a first-round pick. And for him to come to the NFL, have the rookie season that he had, really on a team that once Devontae Adams was out of there, who else are you going to throw the ball to?
Yeah.
And so for him to be able to go out week after week, everyone knowing he's the number one option and still have the production that he did, kid's got a really, really bright future.
Tight ends have always kind of been that security blanket, though, right, for the quarterback. And so you always had that. You knew that if it came down to it,
yeah,
he was going to look for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think tight ends as a whole, you take pride in that role and that responsibility. You take pride in, I'm going to be in the right place at the right time. You can trust me to throw the ball into traffic. You might not have to make a perfect throw. Tight ends are big, athletic guys with large catch radiuses. Just throw it somewhere over here, and I got you. So I think we see that on display across the league, and it's a ton of fun to watch.
You know, we're the Cowboys affiliate in South Texas, and you look at a guy like Jake Ferguson, who had an incredible year 2 years ago and then a drop-off. When you see a tight end not performing at the level he was expected to, what are things that you look for? Is it blocking, route running, combination of both?
I think the biggest thing for Jake was health. He got banged up early in the year, and it's part of the job description when you sign up to be an NFL tight end. Like, you got to do the dirty work. You got to put your hand in the ground. You're around the piles. You got to block defensive ends, outside linebackers, first and second down. You're down in the nitty gritty, but then on third down, you got to go win against man coverage and make a big catch. So I think that was the biggest thing. It's like you look at not just his health, but obviously the health of the team, Dak's health throughout the course of the year. The year before, 2 years ago, he was that security blanket for Dak. And, we saw it throughout most of Dak's career with Dalton down there in Dallas, where just things get a little suspect. He finds Dalton. And Jake kind of stepped into that role 2 years ago, and just, being available, being out there week in and week out, and being healthy. Your health plays such a huge part in it, and unfortunately, injuries are a big part of our game, and he dealt with that a little bit this past year.
Do you see that position kind of morphing a little bit? You mentioned Brock Bowers. He doesn't seem like the prototypical tight end, right?
He's not blocking anybody.
Dalton Schultz, not known as a good blocker either. Do you see that changing? Because guys like you, Jason Witten, Travis Kelce, even, I mean, it seems like we're morphing into something else.
Yeah, well, I think teams and play callers are realizing, if I have a height, weight, speed guy who isn't really big enough, I'm not going to put him out there and try to have him block DeMarcus Ware on, first and second down. You can find ways, whether somebody's got to cover him. If they run a route, he's going to occupy somebody. So that's where we've gotten into this RPO world. We could put them on the back of the formation. Like, you can find ways as a play caller to hide them in the run game, because the value that they add in the pass game, whether it be on third down, in the play action pass game on first and second down, the value that they add as a 235-pound tight end who can run, and you're going against linebackers and safeties, is worth it. So I think you're just seeing a change. And like back in the day, we didn't have college offenses in the NFL. If you were a tight end, you had to block, and it was part of your job. And if you couldn't do it, they weren't going to put you on the field. So I think it's a difference in scheme. It's a difference in mentality. But really, it's because we have these guys that are so fast and athletic. They create such large mismatches in the pass game. You have to have them out there.
When you look at a guy like a Dalton Schultz, who didn't block well at all in Dallas, maybe got a little bit better 2 years ago in Houston, but this year, a lot of criticism of his lack of blocking. Can you play tight end and not block?
You can. There's plenty of guys
let
that
me rephrase that. If you know the guy can't block, is it on the offensive coordinator not to have him in there and call him plays where he's going to be required to block?
It's on the offensive coordinator to not put him in those situations, yes. And I think that's what we're seeing. Like, again, Brock Bowers is not blocking anyone, and he shouldn't. Why do you want your best weapon on offense getting tied up with outside linebackers blocking Khalil Mack twice a year? Like, forget that. Like, no, you're way too valuable for us in other areas. But for me, it was always, it was my way of staying engaged in the game. You didn't know if the ball was going to come your way. We had Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, Adrian Peterson, Percy Harvin, and all these guys that I played with on offense that are getting them involved in the game. So for me, I didn't know, am I going to get 2 or 3 balls in the first quarter? Or is it going to be halfway through the third and I haven't seen the ball yet? Well, I could stay engaged in the game through blocking and through the run game and pass protection. And really, it took most 5 or 6 years into my career to kind of understand that and have that mentality to be like, look, you can't control if the ball comes your way or not. Run your routes, get open, win. The ball might find you, it might not. But at the end of the day, I can control lining up, putting my hand in the ground, and eliminating my opponent, making sure my guy is not the first guy to hit the ball carrier. So it's really kind of just a mentality thing. And, I say this a lot as tight ends, we're not guards. You don't have to move anybody off the ball. You're not going to expect you to line up and move Julius Peppers. It's come on, we know what the deal is. Stay in his way long enough to make sure that with the back can just get through. So it really kind of just boils down to your mentality and wanting to do it. If you want to do it and you're willing to stick your nose in there and put the effort forth, you can be a decent blocker.
Kyle, I've got to ask you this, and I know y'all's Super Bowl is coming up Saturday night, but I'm talking about Sunday and the relationship that Patrick Mahomes has with Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
How does that develop? Is that just over time?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those guys just seem to know where each other is all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to give Travis credit. His intelligence and football IQ, his understanding of defenses and what they're going to do to try to take him away is one thing. But then the ability for Patrick to sit back there and know that's what he's going to do. I'll be interesting. Philly loves to play zone coverage, and you can't just sit there and play zone against the Chiefs because, Travis will have 15 catches. He's going to find holes in the defense. He's going to find ways to, I might have to run a corner route on this play, but there's a guy standing in the deep third, so I'm just not going to run there. I'm going to turn around, and Pat's going to find me. So I remember the last time I played against this Chiefs team when I was in Tampa, Todd Bowles, we're a big zone coverage defense, and Trav picked us apart. He had 8 catches and a touchdown. It's you just can't play them that way. It's not going to work. Patrick's too good of a quarterback. He can extend plays with his legs, and then Trav's just way too smart. He's going to find holes in those zones and make big catches.
Kyle Rudolph joining us here on the Blitz, along with Anne-Marie Krautheim with Gen U, Taste of the NFL. And it's the biggest party, one of the biggest parties of the week, if not the biggest. Certainly the best food is at the Taste of the NFL.
Absolutely. It is one of the hottest tickets in town. It's the Culinary and Gridiron Extravaganza. It's the largest philanthropic event here at Super Bowl. As Kyle said, it's Saturday afternoon, 4 to 7 p.m. at the National World War II Museum. It's really all about the food, the culture of New Orleans. We have some of the best chefs from the area. We have Restaurant Revolution. We have Brennan's. We have the Palace Cafe, Zazu. We have Dakar, New Orleans. Some of the menu items will make your mouth water if you haven't eaten lunch yet, but we have crab meat cheesecake.
We're sitting by the wings here, so they're already starving.
We will have wings. A crab meat cheesecake from the Palace. It's one of their signature menu items. We have a red velvet lobster macaroni and cheese, shrimp and grits, roasted oysters, savory beignets with brisket. The list really goes on in terms of entrees. And then on the dessert side, you cannot be in New Orleans without having Brennan's Bananas Foster. We also have pralines made with Quaker products. It's a praline cake. At the end of the day, however, it really is all about purpose. The proceeds from this event come back to Gen Youth. We are a national nonprofit. Our mission is to help ensure kids thrive by living well-nourished and physically active lives. And the revenue that's generated at Taste of the NFL, we then give back to schools in all 32 club markets. So the Dallas market will benefit children there living in food insecurity to increase access to healthy meals for those children. 1 in 5 children in this country are living in food insecurity. And for those kids, school meals are a lifeline, sometimes the only meal they get on many days. And so we're really about not only the big game here happening this weekend, but leaving a legacy here in New Orleans, but across the country to ensure that children are well nourished.
It's incredible.
Kyle's drooling over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's again.
We're all kind of foodies. Why are shrimp and grits so good in New Orleans and only in New Orleans?
Yeah, that's very true. I tried to replicate it at home, and it's just not the same. But you can find it on a lot of restaurant menus. I think that's the beauty of Taste of the NFL, though, because you can't get to all the good restaurants here. There's just so many, but they will all be at Taste of the NFL. So you can really just eat your way through, get the experience of New Orleans. We also have football greats with us, NFL legends. Kyle will be with us. We have Doug Flutie. We have Demario Davis from the New Orleans Saints. We have James Brown. He's also on our board, JB Brown with CBS Sports. There'll be players at every station, and they're going to be signing autographs, visiting and mixing and mingling with fans. We have a second line. We might entice Kyle to lead that with a parasol for us. I can imagine that. But it's wonderful. And we're very grateful to our presenting sponsors, Quaco Frito-Lay and the PepsiCo Foundation. Without their support, this event would not be what it is. And it's truly the place to be if you're celebrating food, the culture of New Orleans, and football this weekend.
Absolutely. Anne-Marie, always appreciate it and the work that you do year round. Kyle, great seeing you, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.